Gu Hajin is introduced as a woman who has completely hit rock bottom. She curls up alone on a dock, drowning her frustrations in a bottle of soju. Nearby, a homeless man keeps staring at her, so Hajin eventually offers him a drink, and he gladly accepts it. As they sit together, Hajin opens up about the problems ruining her life. Her boyfriend betrayed her, left her buried in debt, and ran away with another woman. Things had finally started getting better, but more problems kept appearing, pushing her to the edge emotionally. Feeling hopeless, Hajin admits that she sometimes wishes she could just die and escape everything. Hearing that, the homeless man tells her that no one can truly change their life simply by wishing for it, unless they die and are born again. Not long after saying that, the man suddenly falls asleep beside her. At that exact moment, Hajin notices a young boy drowning in the water. Without hesitation, she jumps in to save him. While she struggles to rescue the child, the sky begins to darken because of a solar eclipse. Hajin finally manages to return the boy safely to his parents, but before she can recover, a mysterious force suddenly drags her deep underwater. The story then shifts to Korea during the mid-10th century, where another solar eclipse is taking place. A masked rider rushes toward the royal palace at full speed. The rider is revealed to be Wang So, the fourth prince of the Goryeo kingdom, a prince feared throughout the land because of rumors describing him as a cold and merciless man. After returning from a difficult mission, Wang So decides to stay at the palace for a while. This was the beginning of a fate that would change Goryeo forever. This is Moon Lovers, Scarlet Heart Rio. Elsewhere, several princes are relaxing together in a hot spring reserved exclusively for the royal family. Suddenly, Hajin emerges from beneath the water wearing traditional clothing instead of her modern outfit. Her sudden appearance shocks all the princes, while Hajin herself is completely confused about what is happening. Fortunately, a servant girl quickly helps her escape from the hot spring before things get worse. Once outside, Hajin looks around and realizes that everything around her feels completely unfamiliar. Overwhelmed by the bizarre situation, she eventually loses consciousness and is taken to the home of Wang Wook, the 8th prince of Goryeo. The next morning, Hajin finally regains consciousness and discovers the shocking truth. She is now trapped inside the body of a young noblewoman named Hae Soo, who happens to be the cousin of Wang Wook's wife, Lady Hae Myung-hee. The girl who rescued her earlier is Chai Ryung, a servant assigned to look after Hae Soo. Still overwhelmed and confused, Hajin knows absolutely nothing about the people or the world around her. Because of her strange behavior, Lady Hae assumes that Hae Soo has lost her memory and explains that they are living in the Goryeo kingdom under the rule of King Taejo. After hearing all of this, Hajin starts to believe that the real Hae Soo must have drowned in the hot spring, and now she has somehow taken over her life. Even so, the idea that she has traveled 1,000 years into the past is almost impossible for her to accept. But with no way back, Hajin slowly begins adapting to her new reality and continues living as Hae Soo. Deep down, she also starts wondering if this might actually be a second chance to begin a new life. As time passes, Hae Soo struggles to adjust to a world without gadgets, skincare products, vehicles, or any modern conveniences. Even so, she cannot help feeling grateful for her healthy body and beautiful hair. Later on, Hae Soo becomes curious about Wang Wook while watching him together with Chae Ryung. Chae Ryung explains that Wang Wook is known as a kind and highly educated prince. His marriage with Lady Hae is peaceful and loving, and the two of them deeply trust each other. Seeing Wang Wook's gentle personality for herself slowly makes Hae Soo admire him. Not long after that, they unexpectedly run into Wang Wook's younger sister, Princess Yeonhwa, who clearly dislikes Hae Soo from the very beginning. Hae Soo quickly realizes that Yeonhwa has a nasty personality, so she stops holding back and ends up arguing with her. The conflict is eventually stopped by Wang Wook, who reminds Hae Soo to be careful with her behavior because Yeonhwa is still a princess, while Hae Soo is only part of a noble family. Even so, Wang Wook becomes intrigued by how different Hae Soo now seems compared to the girl he once knew. Meanwhile, Wang So visits the residence of his mother, Queen Yu. But instead of welcoming him, he overhears her speaking as if his arrival was unwanted, even though she is his biological mother. Her cold attitude deeply hurts Wang So and brings back painful memories from his childhood. Years ago, after King Taejo and Queen Yu lost one of their sons, the royal family was thrown into grief. But rather than mourning the loss, King Taejo chose to remarry for political reasons. That decision enraged Queen Yu so much that she ended up taking out her anger on young Wang So. In a moment of fury, she injured his face with a knife, leaving behind the scar that later became a source of shame for the royal family. Ever since then, Wang So has never received the same love and affection that Queen Yu gives to her other sons. Even so, he still loves his mother deeply and continues trying to earn her acknowledgement no matter how coldly she treats him. Elsewhere, Haesu is wandering around when she suddenly spots a middle-aged man named Jimong. He is a royal astronomer and one of King Taejo's trusted advisors. The moment Haesu sees his face, she realizes he looks incredibly similar to the homeless man she met back at the dock in the modern world. Shocked by the resemblance, Haesu immediately tries to chase after him, but Jimong disappears before she can catch up. At the same time, Haesu accidentally crosses paths with Wang So. He nearly runs into her while riding his horse, but quickly pulls her up onto the saddle at the last second. For a brief moment, Haesu is completely stunned, but Wang So casually throws her back onto the ground as if nothing happened. Annoyed by his rude behavior, Haesu boldly scolds him and even demands an apology. Wang So is clearly surprised by how direct and fearless she is, especially since no one usually dares to speak to him that way. Without saying anything, Wang So simply leaves. Only afterward does Haesu learn from the townspeople that the man she just argued with is none other than the feared fourth prince of Goryeo, Wang So. Not long after that, Wang So goes to meet his brothers, including Wang Wook and Princess Yeonhwa. Wang Wook warmly offers Wang So a place to stay at his residence, and Wang So immediately accepts. Most of the princes clearly respect Wang So as their older brother, but one prince openly treats him differently. That man is Wang Yo, the third prince of Goryeo. Arrogant and power-hungry, Wang Yo has always disliked Wang So despite the fact that they share the same blood. A little later, Haesu arrives at the gathering because of Yeonhwa's orders. She tries to hide her face so nobody notices her, but the 10th prince, Wang Un, quickly recognizes her as the woman from the hot spring incident. He immediately accuses her of spying on him and his brothers. While trying to defend herself, Haesu accidentally causes a commotion, leaving the princes surprised by how unusual and outspoken she has become compared to the old Haesu they once knew. Feeling embarrassed, Haesu decides to leave, but Wang Un follows after her. Instead of backing down, Haesu boldly punches him for refusing to admit his own mistake. Her fearless behavior shocks everyone around her, and at that moment, Wang So finally realizes that the girl who yelled at him earlier is actually Haesu. Afterward, Wang So meets with Queen Yu, Wang Yo, and Wang Zheng, the 14th prince of Goryeo. The three princes are all sons of Queen Yu, yet despite that, she completely ignores Wang So and treats him like a stranger rather than her own child. The cold treatment leaves Wang So hurt once again, making him wonder why his own mother hates him so much. Meanwhile, Haesu secretly sneaks back into the royal hot spring. After hurting Wang Un, she fears punishment from King Taejo, and she also hopes the hot spring might somehow send her back to the future the same way she first arrived. At the same time, Wang So heads to the hot spring as well to clear his mind. Once alone, he removes his mask and clothes, revealing scars covering much of his body. But suddenly, Haesu appears in the middle of the pool, shocking Wang So. At the same time, Haesu realizes that she cannot return to the future after all. Wang So becomes embarrassed that she has seen his scars. Angry and humiliated, he demands that Haesu forget everything she saw. Later, Haesu returns home and is surprised to find everyone genuinely worried about her safety. For the first time in a long while, she begins to feel the warmth of being surrounded by people who truly care about her. The next day, King Taejo gathers with the princes and notices the bruise on Wang Un's face. Furious, he promises to punish whoever dared to hurt his son. Unexpectedly, Wang Un asks for the punishment to be reduced because he has already started developing feelings for Haesu after their previous encounter. And Wang Un is not the only one. Little by little, more princes of Goryeo begin taking interest in Haesu because of how different she is from the other women of that era. The story then shifts to a ritual being performed by the 7 princes together with Crown Prince Wangmu. During the ceremony, which is meant to drive away evil spirits, a group of assassins suddenly appears and launches an attack on the Crown Prince. But the attackers quickly realize they targeted the wrong person. The one standing in Wang Mu's position is actually Wang So. It turns out Wang So had already heard rumors about a possible assassination attempt beforehand, so he secretly switched places with the crown prince in order to protect him. Even after risking his life, Wang So feels hurt because his father seems far more concerned about Wang Mu's safety than about Wang So being injured. Not long after, Wang So leaves the ceremony to chase down the attackers. At the same time, Hai Su notices him rushing away and decides to follow him out of curiosity. It does not take long for Wang So to catch up with the assassins and fight one of them. Meanwhile, Hai Su witnesses something shocking in the forest. The leader of the attack suddenly kills his own men to erase any evidence. Hai Su quickly runs to tell Wang So what she saw, but before she can explain anything, the leader captures her and takes her hostage. Fortunately, Wang Wook arrives just in time and kills the attacker, though Wang So becomes frustrated because he lost the chance to interrogate him. After everything settles down, Hai Su explains what she witnessed and mentions that the leader wore a fur cloak. Hearing that detail immediately shocks both Wang Wook and Wang So, because only one person fits that description, the third prince of Goryeo, Wang Yo. After the incident, Wang So asks King Taizhou for permission to remain in the capital longer so he can continue investigating the attack. Elsewhere, the truth is finally revealed. Queen Yu is actually the mastermind behind the assassination attempt. Her goal is to make her son Wang Yo the next crown prince, so he can eventually control the Goryeo kingdom. But her entire plan failed because Wang So stepped in and protected Wang Mu. As time passes, Wang So continues searching for evidence and eventually discovers that Queen Yu was truly responsible for everything. But instead of exposing her to King Taizhou, Wang So chooses to eliminate the remaining assassins and destroy all evidence. He does all of this for one reason only, hoping that his mother will finally acknowledge him. Afterward, Wang So immediately goes to see Queen Yu. But no matter how much he sacrifices for her, she still refuses to accept him and even calls him a monster. Those words completely shatter Wang So emotionally. Consumed by rage and pain, he loses control and destroys a pile of prayer stones nearby. At that moment, Hai Su arrives and tries to calm him down. But Wang So, overwhelmed with anger, refuses to listen. Covered in blood and wounds, he admits that he has just killed people. Even so, Hai Su does not run away in fear. Instead, she gently holds Wang So's injured hand and believes there must have been a reason behind his actions. She reminds him that life inside the palace is cruel, and sometimes people are forced to use swords simply to survive. Hearing those words slowly calms Wang So down. His anger begins to fade, and for the first time, he starts reflecting on everything he has done. The story then shifts to Wang Wook spending time beside his wife, Lady He, whose health continues to grow worse. Despite her condition, Lady He encourages her husband to remarry someday so he can live a happier life and have children of his own. Deep down, Lady He also realizes that Wang Wook has never truly loved her. She understands that the kindness he has always shown her comes more from sympathy than genuine romantic feelings. Meanwhile, Hai Su meets with Chae Ryung and asks her to return Wang So's hair tie, which he accidentally left behind during their encounter at the hot spring. Chae Ryung quietly follows Hai Su's request and attempts to place the hair tie inside Wang So's room. Unfortunately, Yeonhwa catches her in the act and immediately assumes Chae Ryung is a thief. She drags Chae Ryung away to be punished, but Hai Su quickly steps in to protect her. Unable to explain the truth without revealing what happened at the hot spring, Hai Su chooses to take the punishment herself instead. Just as Yeonhwa is about to whip Hai Su, Wang So suddenly appears and stops her. He publicly claims that Hai Su belongs to him, forcing Yeonhwa to back down. Even though Hai Su is saved, the incident leaves Yeonhwa heartbroken because she has secretly had feelings for Wang So all along. The next day, Hai Su accidentally bumps into Wang So while lost in thought. Instead of apologizing, she immediately becomes angry over his previous words about her being his. Hai Su refuses to be treated like an object or an animal, and she openly confronts him about it. Wang So explains that he only wanted to help her, but he also realizes that Hai Su willingly accepted punishment to protect him and keep the secret of seeing his face at the hot spring. Not long after that, another incident shakes the palace. Wang Zheng, the 14th prince of Goryeo, is kidnapped by a group of people claiming to be victims of Queen Yu's cruelty. They want revenge against the queen by using Wang Zheng as leverage. Hai Su unexpectedly witnesses the kidnapping and immediately tries to help however she can. Before long, Wang Wook and Wang So arrive and defeat the kidnappers. After being rescued, Wang Zheng sincerely thanks Hai Su and promises to protect her in the future. Hearing that, Hai Su instinctively hugs him like an older sister comforting her younger brother, but she quickly realizes her mistake and apologizes. The dangerous situation makes Wang Wook deeply worried about Hai Su, but it becomes increasingly obvious that his feelings for her are turning into something more than simple concern. Even so, Wang Wook is still married, and Hai Su also understands the complicated position they are in. Although she feels comfortable around him, she tries to keep her distance for both their sakes. Still, because they live under the same roof, Wang Wook and Hai Su continue growing closer. Their relationship does not go unnoticed. Baek-ah, the 13th prince of Goryeo, eventually warns Hai Su to think about Lady Ha's feelings. It turns out Baek-ah has known Lady Ha for a very long time, and she was actually his first love. Because of that, he cannot stand the thought of her happiness being taken away. Baek-ah becomes even more frustrated when he realizes Lady Hae already knows about the growing closeness between Wang Wook and Hai Su, yet chooses to remain silent about it. Meanwhile, Hai Su finally gets the chance to speak with Jimong and immediately hopes he might understand what she has been going through, but Jimong acts as though he knows nothing about her strange situation. Instead, he warns Hai Su to be extremely careful with her behavior and words inside the palace. According to him, the royal palace is a terrifying place where a single mistake can easily cost someone their life. Elsewhere, Lady Hae visits her mother-in-law, Queen Huangbo. As her health continues to decline, Lady Hae makes a heartfelt request. She asks the queen to accept Hai Su as Wang Wook's future wife because she believes Hai Su can give him the happiness she never could. Not long after that, Lady Hae asks Hai Su to dress her beautifully before spending time together with Wang Wook. While Wang Wook carries her in his arms during their final moments together, Lady Hae peacefully passes away. Her death leaves Wang Wook devastated and full of regret because he only realized his true feelings for his wife at the very end. Hai Su is equally heartbroken since she had already come to see Lady Hae as an older sister. Sometime later, new trouble arrives for Hai Su when her family decides to marry her off for political reasons. The princes quickly gather after hearing the news because they are furious that Hai Su is supposedly being forced to marry an old man who already has many wives. On the day of the wedding, the princes try to hide Hai Su and help her escape, but they soon discover the shocking truth. The man she is supposed to marry is actually King Taejo himself. King Taejo wants to marry Hai Su because the Hai family holds great influence inside the palace, and the marriage would strengthen his political position. Even after learning the truth, Hai Su refuses to accept her fate. In a desperate act of defiance, she injures her own hand. She does this because she knows the royal law states that a woman with visible scars cannot become the king's wife. Although the marriage is cancelled, Hai Su is still punished for disobeying the king's command. Seeing this, Jimong steps in and advises King Taejo to spare Hai Su from harsher punishment. Instead of turning her into a slave, he suggests allowing her to remain in the palace as a court maid. Jimong explains that Hai Su is well liked by many people in the kingdom and also possesses useful skills that could benefit the palace. At first, King Taejo rejects the idea, but after learning that his favorite consort personally wants Hai Su to stay, he finally agrees. Afterward, Hai Su meets Lady O, the head court lady of the palace and King Taejo's most trusted consort. Lady O promises to train Hai Su into a dependable palace maid. Once Wang So hears about everything that happened, he immediately goes to see Hai Su. He is worried about her, but at the same time he is frustrated that she risked her life so recklessly. Hai Su explains that for a moment she felt completely hopeless, but deep inside she knew the marriage was wrong, which is why she acted so desperately. After hearing her explanation, Wang So finally understands her actions, though he still asks her not to endanger herself like that ever again. Before leaving, Wang So tells Hai Su that the palace is difficult to enter, but even harder to escape from. Even so, he admits that the palace has become a brighter place ever since Hai Su arrived there. As time passes, Hai Su continues doing her best to serve the royal family inside the palace. One day, she accidentally discovers Crown Prince Wangmu suffering from a painful illness. Just as the Crown Prince is about to pour cold water over his wounds, Haisu suddenly stops him. Thanks to her modern knowledge, she realizes his condition is actually caused by a peanut allergy. Not only does she recognize the illness, but she also knows how to treat it, which eventually earns Wang Mu's trust. However, Lady O suddenly arrives and catches Haisu treating the Crown Prince. Furious, she immediately stops her and later punishes Haisu for interfering. Lady O then reveals that she already knows about Wang Mu's illness, but the truth has been carefully hidden because if word ever got out, the Crown Prince could lose his position as heir to the throne. She also explains that Wang Mu is King Taejo's favorite son and the prince chosen to inherit the kingdom. Because of that, Lady O warns Haisu not to involve herself in dangerous political matters and reminds her to be far more careful in the future. Not long after that, the Goryeo kingdom is struck by a severe drought. King Taejo is too weak to perform the traditional rain ritual himself, while Crown Prince Wang Mu is away handling affairs outside the kingdom. With no other choice, King Taejo and Jimong decide to appoint Wang So to lead the ritual instead. But the moment the ceremony begins, the people become furious. Many believe Wang So's mask will anger the heavens and make the drought even worse. The crowd begins treating Wang So like an outcast. He is pelted with stones and mud, while his brothers stand there unable to help him. Humiliated and enraged, Wang So storms away, forcing the ritual to be postponed. Later, Jimong meets with Wang So and reveals that the entire situation was actually planned by King Taejo. The king wanted Wang So to gain confidence in front of the people, and the ritual itself was only meant to be symbolic. Even so, Jimong also explains that if rain truly falls after the ceremony, then the person leading the ritual could be seen as a future candidate to become the next king of Goryeo. In reality, although King Taejo often appears distant toward Wang So, he has quietly been watching over him all along. Afterward, Wang So isolates himself to calm down. That is when Haisu comes to comfort him. She reminds him that no one in the world lives an easy life because everyone carries their own pain and struggles. Haisu encourages Wang So to continue the rain ritual so the drought-devastating Goryeo can finally end. To support him, she even uses makeup to hide his scars and help him face the people with confidence. Inspired by Haisu's encouragement, Wang So returns to the ceremony. But this time, he removes his mask in front of everyone. To his surprise, the people finally begin accepting him. And moments later, something incredible happens. Right after Wang So completes the ritual, rain finally begins to fall across the kingdom. After Wang So successfully completes the rain ritual, joy spreads throughout the royal family. But behind the celebration, several members of the palace also begin showing signs of fear. At that moment, Haisu experiences a sudden vision of the future for the very first time. In that vision, she sees Wang So becoming the future king of Goryeo. The sight terrifies her because Haisu already knows the history of King Gwangjong, the fourth king of Goryeo. In the history books from her time, he is remembered as a ruthless ruler who killed his own brothers to protect his throne. Meanwhile, Queen Yu is one of the people most disturbed by Wang So's success, and she leaves in anger after witnessing the people begin accepting him. While the capital celebrates the long-awaited rain, Haisu goes searching for Jimong. Knowing that he is famous for seeing glimpses of the future, she asks him who will eventually become the fourth king of Goryeo. Jimong admits that he is not completely sure whether his visions are truly supernatural or something else entirely. But surprisingly, he also believes that he may have come from the future just like Haisu, although he no longer remembers clearly because he was reborn into this era from childhood. Jimong already realizes that Haisu comes from another time period, but instead of giving her answers, he advises her to let fate unfold naturally. After the ceremony, Wang So finally begins feeling genuine happiness for the first time in his life. The people no longer reject him, and more importantly, he is finally able to call King Taejo his father openly. Wang So confesses to Haisu that all the pain he carried for years suddenly feels lighter after receiving acknowledgement from his father. He sincerely thanks Haisu because he believes none of this would have happened without her support. Hearing those words only makes Haisu more conflicted. The Wang So standing in front of her now feels nothing like the cruel king recorded in history. Because of that, Haisu becomes determined to change the future and prevent anyone from getting hurt. Sometime later, Wang Yun receives news that he will soon marry Young Yu, the daughter of General Su Kyun. Young Yu has secretly liked Wang Yun for a long time, and King Taejo approves the marriage as a reward for the general's loyal service. But Wang Yun is unhappy about the arrangement because he still has feelings for Haisu. Understanding the situation, Haisu gently rejects him, and eventually, Wang Yun accepts the marriage. However, during Wang Yun's wedding day, Haisu suddenly experiences another terrifying vision. This time, she sees Wang So killing Wang Yun and his wife. The vision leaves Haisu frightened, and she starts trying to distance herself from Wang So. But instead of pushing him away, her actions only make Wang So desire her even more, because he has already fallen deeply in love with her. Not long after that, Wang So takes Haisu outside the palace and brings her to the seaside. There, he reveals that he is willing to abandon the Goryeo kingdom completely if it means starting a new life together with her. But Haisu explains that she already has feelings for someone else, and that all the kindness she has shown Wang So came only from concern and sympathy. The person Haisu truly loves is Wang Wook. Even after hearing that, Wang So refuses to give up. No matter who holds Haisu's heart, he has no intention of letting her go so easily. The story then shifts to Wang Wook, spending time alone with Haisu. Having finally realized how deeply he loves her, Wang Wook asks Haisu to marry him. But before Haisu can give an answer, Lady O suddenly discovers them together and immediately scolds Haisu. She warns that if their relationship becomes known, Haisu will be the one who suffers the consequences. Lady O also reminds Wang Wook that the feelings of a prince can easily change over time. No matter how strong their emotions may be, they still cannot defy their families or go against the king's commands for the sake of love alone. Meanwhile, Queen Yu continues plotting to seize power. This time, she plans to poison Crown Prince Wang Mu. After learning about the scheme, Wang So secretly tries to stop it. And when he notices that Haisu is serving the Crown Prince that day, he becomes even more desperate to prevent her from being framed. Wang So quickly knocks away the poisoned tea before Wang Mu can drink it. Unfortunately, he does not realize the poison was actually hidden inside the cup itself. Moments later, when Wang So drinks again, he is poisoned anyway. As a result, Haisu is immediately arrested for attempted murder. The princes all try defending her because they know she has been framed, but none of them can change King Taejo's decision. Desperate to save Haisu, Wang Wook goes to Lady O for help since she is the only person with enough influence to intervene. But instead of comforting him, Lady O questions the sincerity of his feelings. She criticizes Wang Wook for acting cowardly and asks why he cannot defend Haisu himself if he truly loves her. Even so, Lady O decides to help, not because of Wang Wook's request, but because she genuinely cares about Haisu. Unlike Wang Wook, Lady O proves her loyalty through action. She personally meets King Taejo and falsely confesses that she was the one who poisoned Crown Prince Wang Mu. King Taejo already knows Haisu is innocent, and he also realizes Lady O is lying to protect her. But because he cannot expose the real culprit, he has no choice but to continue the case publicly. Even then, Lady O keeps begging for Haisu's life. She explains that Haisu is like a daughter to her, and reveals that her own health is failing because of a serious illness. In the end, King Taejo reluctantly grants Lady O's wish. With great pain in his heart, he sentences the woman he loves most to death, because a king cannot simply ignore the law or withdraw his own orders. After learning the truth, Haisu desperately kneels outside the palace, begging King Taejo to spare Lady O's life. The other princes try convincing Haisu to stop, because they know the king will never change his decision. Wang Wook also wants to help, but his family forbids him from interfering because they fear being accused of treason. As Haisu continues kneeling in the pouring rain, she watches Wang Wook eventually walk away from her, leaving her heartbroken. Unexpectedly, the one who remains beside her the entire time is Wang So. Even under the heavy rain, he refuses to leave her side. But in the end, none of Haisu's pleas are enough. Lady O is executed, leaving Haisu crying in complete despair, while King Taejo himself is nearly overwhelmed by grief after losing someone so precious to him. After everything that happens, King Taejo demotes Haisu to the lowest rank of palace maid and sends her far away so she can no longer interact with the princes. By this point, Haisu has already fallen in love with Wang So, but to protect him from further trouble, she is forced to distance herself from him instead. As time passes, King Taejo's health continues to decline, and Crown Prince Wang Mu's position becomes increasingly unstable while he is away from the palace. Seeing this as the perfect opportunity, Wang Yo begins preparing another plan to seize the throne. Surprisingly, this time he gains support from both Yonhua and Wang Wook. Blinded by heartbreak and frustration after losing Haisu, Wang Wook starts believing that gaining greater political power is the only way he can win her back someday. One day, Haisu is summoned to King Taizhou's chambers as the king's condition grows even worse. During their meeting, King Taizhou asks Haisu where she truly came from. After Lady O's death, the king secretly investigated Haisu's background, but could not find any trace of her past. Because of that, he begins suspecting that Haisu might be similar to Jimong, someone capable of seeing the future. King Taizhou also explains that he trusts Haisu because Lady O loved her like a daughter. As the king's illness worsens, his residence becomes heavily guarded. Even the queens and princes are forbidden from entering. King Taizhou refuses to let anyone discover his death before Crown Prince Wangmu returns to the palace. Because of that, he secretly orders Haisu to find the Crown Prince and bring him back as quickly as possible. Before she leaves, King Taizhou warns Haisu to be extremely careful when answering questions about his condition, because someone inside the palace is trying to steal the throne. He also tells her not to trust anyone anymore because the future of the Goryeo kingdom now rests on her shoulders. Deep down, King Taizhou even believes there may be a reason fate brought Haisu into this era. As Haisu leaves the king's residence, she runs into Wang Wook, who immediately asks whether King Taizhou is already dead. At that moment, Haisu finally realizes who King Taizhou was warning her about. Without revealing anything, Haisu quickly prepares to search for Crown Prince Wangmu. Once Wang So learns about the situation, he decides to help her. Together, they meet Baek Ah, who volunteers to search for the Crown Prince himself, while Haisu and Wang So head to General Su Kyun in order to protect King Taizhou's palace. The next day, Wang Yo and Wang Wook officially launch their coup with armed soldiers marching toward the palace. But Wang So stands in their way. And manages to hold them off long enough for Crown Prince Wangmu to finally return. Wang Yo is shocked when he discovers that Wang Wook has betrayed him. All this time, Wang Wook had only pretended to cooperate so he could expose Wang Yo's rebellion to the Crown Prince. Not long after, Jimong publicly announces that King Taizhou has passed away, and Crown Prince Wangmu is officially crowned the new king of Goryeo. Meanwhile, Wang Yo manages to escape, but Wang So eventually corners him near a cliff. During the struggle, Wang Yo falls into the ravine below. Even after everything that happened, Wang So still feels saddened by the outcome because deep down, he never truly wanted things to end that way. But Wang Yo's endless greed and rebellion ultimately led him to his own downfall. 2 years later, Haisu has risen to become the head court lady serving King Wangmu. During that time, she grows much closer to Wang So, and the two finally begin openly loving each other. But peace does not last long. Unexpectedly, Wang Yo is revealed to still be alive, and he begins plotting another rebellion. Soon after, King Wangmu is poisoned and dies, while Haisu is once again accused of being responsible. At the same time, Wang Yo returns and successfully seizes control of the throne. Furious, Wang So immediately attacks him, but he is forced to stop when Wang Yo threatens to kill Haisu if he continues fighting. The story then reveals the real person responsible for poisoning King Wangmu. Shockingly, it is Wang Wook. By this point, Wang Wook has completely changed into someone driven by ambition and self-interest. He commits the crime to increase his own chances of one day taking the throne, and because of that, King Wang Yo spares his life and allows him to remain by his side. As time goes on, the people of Goryeo suffer greatly under King Wang Yo's cruel rule. His greed only grows worse after hearing rumors that Wang Un's family may be planning a rebellion. Because of that suspicion, King Wang Yo orders Wang So to kill Wang Un and his entire family. If Wang So refuses, then Haisu will be executed instead. After learning this, Haisu desperately tries to hide Wang Un and his wife from Wang So. She remembers the terrifying vision she once saw where Wang So would kill them both, so she becomes determined to stop it from happening. While hiding together, Wang Un finally opens his heart and accepts his wife's love. For the first time, he stops treating her coldly, and the two begin finding happiness together. But sadly, their peace does not last long because King Wang You's soldiers eventually discover their hiding place. During the attack, Wang Un's wife is killed. Wang So never intended for that to happen because he had secretly been searching for another way to save them both. Severely wounded and overwhelmed with grief, Wang Un begs Wang So to end his life so he can follow his wife in death. At that exact moment, Su arrives and witnesses the heartbreaking scene. Unfortunately, she does not know the full truth behind what happened. Wang So tries explaining that he was only trying to prevent the tragedy, but Su is too devastated to believe him. After everything that happens, Wang So becomes determined to overthrow King Wang You's brutal reign once and for all. At the same time, he is forced to distance himself from Su because he knows Wang You will continue using her as leverage against him. Meanwhile, Su is left heartbroken when Wang So is assigned to govern a distant region of the kingdom for a long period of time. Even so, she faithfully waits for him to return. But when they finally reunite, Wang So intentionally keeps pushing her away. One day, while Su is still trying to get close to him again, King Wang You attempts to harm her in order to test whether she is still useful to Wang So. The moment Wang So sees the attack, he immediately protects Su from an incoming arrow, injuring his own hand in the process. Afterward, Su personally treats Wang So's wound, and through that moment, the two finally reconcile and come back together once more. As time passes, the atmosphere inside the royal palace grows increasingly unstable. King Wang You becomes consumed by paranoia and fear, just like the kings before him. He constantly hallucinates and grows obsessed with protecting his throne. Wang So takes advantage of the chaos and eventually launches a coup against him. In the end, King Wang You dies from illness, allowing Wang So to finally seize the throne. At last, Wang So becomes King Guangzhong, the fourth king of Goryeo, exactly as history had foretold. But even after achieving the throne, new obstacles stand between him and Su. Because of the scars on her body from the past, Su cannot officially become the king's wife. On top of that, she has secretly been suffering from a heart condition, and the royal physician warns that she may not have much time left to live. Even so, Su hides the truth from King Wang So because she does not want him to worry about her. Meanwhile, King Wang So faces enormous political pressure. In order to secure support and stabilize his reign, he is ultimately forced to marry Yonhua instead. Later on, Jimong meets with Su and advises her to give up her dream of marrying King Wang So. He believes that, indirectly, Su has become one of the reasons the princes have continued fighting among themselves. Jimong no longer wants to see more bloodshed, and he truly believes that Goryeo will become a better kingdom under Wang So's rule. Because of that, he hopes Su can accept the painful reality and let go of her wishes. As time passes, Su hides all of her sadness behind a smile and continues acting normally in front of King Wang So. But eventually, she decides to leave the palace for the sake of both of them. King Wang So becomes furious and refuses to let her go, but unexpectedly, Wang Zhong steps forward to help Su escape. By this point, Wang Zhong already sees Su as an older sister figure, rather than a romantic partner. Back when King Wang You was still ruling Goryeo, Wang Zhong had once been offered a reward for his loyal service. At that time, Wang Zhong requested permission to marry Su, but his intention was never to possess her. He only wanted to free Su from the palace so she could finally live peacefully away from all the endless conflict. Wang Zhong has grown tired of seeing his brothers constantly drag Su into their battles and ambitions. King Wang You eventually granted Wang Zhong's request and handed him an official royal decree. Later, Wang Zhong approaches Su and tells her that if she truly wants to escape the terrible palace life, he can help her leave. Afterward, Wang Zhong presents the royal decree to King Wang So. Because it was an official order left behind by the previous king, Wang So has no choice but to accept it. Su understands how angry and heartbroken Wang So feels, but she also knows there is no other path left for them. In the end, the two are forced to separate. Eventually, Su formally marries Wang Zhong, though the marriage exists only in name. After leaving the palace, she begins living the remainder of her life far away from royal politics. The decision costs Su dearly because she sacrifices her own happiness in order to protect the people she loves, especially the innocent citizens of Goryeo. As time goes by, Wang Zhong continues taking care of Su with great kindness. Later, he discovers that Su is carrying Wang So's child. The royal physician warns Haisu that the pregnancy is extremely dangerous for her condition, and even advises her to terminate it. But despite the risks, Haisu stubbornly chooses to protect her unborn baby. Meanwhile, King Wangso secretly sends spies to watch over Haisu. Eventually, he learns that Haisu is pregnant, causing him to believe her marriage with Wang Zheng was not merely a formality after all. Consumed by anger and jealousy, King Wangso personally goes to see her. But when he arrives, he only witnesses Haisu's worsening condition and Wang Zheng caring for her devotedly, which causes him to misunderstand the situation even more. In the end, King Wangso decides to stop accepting Haisu's letters and orders his spies to leave her alone. Sometime later, Haisu safely gives birth to a baby girl. Hoping to see Wangso one last time, she sends him another letter. To avoid suspicion, Wang Zheng even helps write his own name on the letter and makes sure it reaches the king directly. Sadly, King Wangso refuses to read it. And in the end, Haisu dies while still waiting for Wangso to come see her, never realizing that he never even opened her final message. Only afterward does King Wangso finally discover the truth after reading Haisu's letter. Completely devastated, he breaks down in tears after realizing everything that truly happened. He immediately rushes to Haisu's home and confronts Wang Zheng over their past misunderstandings. Afterward, King Wangso punishes Wang Zheng by sending him into exile. Several years later, while King Wangso is honoring the anniversary of Haisu's death, he notices a little girl who somehow feels strangely familiar to him. Not long after, Wang Zheng arrives to pick up the child, and in that moment, Wangso finally realizes the truth. The little girl is actually his daughter. Even so, Wang Zheng immediately begs King Wangso not to take the child away because it was Haisu's final wish that her daughter would never become trapped inside the cruel life of the royal palace. In the end, King Wangso chooses to release Wang Zheng from exile and even asks him to visit the palace more often. Sometime later, Jimong decides to retire from his position at court. Before leaving, he tells King Wangso that Haisu never truly belonged to their era and advises him to let her go. Not long after that, the sky suddenly darkens as another solar eclipse begins. Wangso quietly stares upward as the light slowly disappears. At the same moment, in another time, Haisu awakens in her bed and becomes Gu Hejin once again in the modern world. It turns out she had been in a coma for an entire year after drowning. After returning to her old life, Hejin constantly dreams about a scarred man from the Goryeo era, and every time she sees him in her dreams, she wakes up crying. One day at work, Hejin encounters a mysterious man who looks exactly like Jimong. After meeting him, fragments of her memories slowly begin returning. Later, while walking home, Hejin suddenly becomes drawn to paintings from the Goryeo kingdom. That is when all of her memories finally come back, and she realizes that everything she experienced was real and not just a dream. Hejin eventually learns that King Gwangjong was actually remembered in history as a wise and compassionate ruler who abolished slavery and improved the lives of his people. At that moment, she realizes that her efforts as Haisu were not meaningless after all. She truly succeeded in helping Wangso become a better king. The story ends with Hejin apologizing to Wangso for leaving him alone in the past. The message of this story reminds us to stay strong, to be brave enough to be ourselves, and to fight against the labels and judgments placed on us by others. Haisu teaches us to stand up against people who abuse their power. But perhaps the most unforgettable lesson of all is that true love does not always mean being together forever. So the moral of the story is never trust a solar eclipse, because one minute you're drinking soju in debt, and the next minute you're accidentally dating half the royal family and causing a nationwide brother fight.